Thomas Noone and Jamal Abrams, two remarkably talented choreographers whose works and world premieres we get to share with you this evening in our season premiere of Season 2 of On Cue. Abrams is a Company E artist in residence and has been a member of our family for several years now. He's also a Halcyon Arts Fellow, and we caught up with him at Georgetown University at the Halcyon Arts Studios earlier this week to have a chance to chat with him about his world premiere, Anything Your Heart Desires. Here's our chat with Jamal, and then a look at Anything Your Heart Desires.
So Anything Your Heart Desires, I really just wanted to take the time to think about play. I've been in a lot of conversations about the old guard and this idea of our society and our generation and our world really shifting into a new space, and what does that battle look like? And I also wanted to kind of flip the narrative and invert it back on ourselves and our adolescence and kind of look at how we've been groomed. Like we've been groomed to have this experience. And so I wanted to kind of bring light to the fight, and a fight in which I feel like I have been like charging for. And I feel like I've been charging since I was a child. And so it's really exciting to kind of see it play out in that kind of way.
I remember when you first brought this idea into our conversation, one of the first things that you said to me was that we always think of playtime and what your heart desires in childhood is this expression of innocence. And in fact, everything that happens in society is so much about conforming all of those experiences and expectations. We like to say, oh, it's an innocent time, but in fact, the number of societal factors surrounding youth transform that, and that was part of what you were tackling. And you can see that in Kelsey and Imani's performances, I think.
Yeah, and their solos are totally fueled by them. Like we spend so much time just talking, actually, and a lot of the rehearsal time was spent talking. I really wanted to understand their upbringing and understand what they experienced growing up, and how can we kind of use those things and like think back to that moment and like, oh, actually this thing relates to this now, or oh, this thing exposes this about me now. Which was fun. I mean, I marvel at Imani and Kelsey through Zoom, which was a process, but such a gift, and just two really strong, talented, and beautiful women who really gave so much of themselves for this process.
You can see that in right early on. And I don't want to give too much away because people haven't had a chance to watch this yet, but right early on, there's that lightness in the way they are standing, but you can start to see a conversation that's eye level based, as opposed to sort of overall the way they're looking, and you're like, okay, there's a lot more happening here already inside of this. And they had to get inside of that to be able to actualize it. And you can see that whatever you guys chose to do, however you set your process up, you gave that to them, or you all gave that to each other to capture right at the beginning.
Yes, shout out to Robert for cinematography and editing, because I think he just did such an amazing job of really like getting those really intimate moments, because I think they speak volumes. And really the work began as like, you don't know what you're conjuring, right? So when we're kids and we're playing and we're saying these things, or we're doing these really specific movements or gestures, we're not aware of what we're conjuring and what we're creating around us. And so that was really the world that we tried to create. It's like, in this play and in this really light thing, there's something brewing here. And what is it?
Here's the world premiere of Anything Your Heart Desires by Jamal Abrams.
Two girls playing in the sun. a field as far as they could run. One is innocent and fair, the other different and always aware. Here they run and dance all day. They laugh and giggle while they play. A game they both love and can't seem to quit. Crisscross clap, you are not it. And for a moment, all feels right. But the other knows what comes at night. For the sun dips below the cars. The fair one wishes upon a star. She points to the only star that glows. And concocts a dream she won't disclose, knowing the world will carry her wish to truth and fruition. The other sees the same star and thinks, might as well try. And so she hopes and blinks, her eyes sewed shut. Her prayers run deep. But she awakens and stirs and begins to weep. They say a wish upon a star makes no difference who you are. But the star they see is not the same. To the other, it is just a game. A game like before, crisscross clap. She knows she's out with any little mishap. So with that, she sleeps and awaits the sun in a field as far as she can run.
A little later in the program, we'll jump into Last Night by Barcelona-based Thomas Noone. But first, let's check in with Boris Willis and the first season episode of TECH-NIQUE.
Hi, I'm Boris Willis, and this is TECH-NIQUE. In this episode, we're going to take a look at Unreal Engine by Epic Games. Unreal Engine is the powerful software used to make amazing games like Fortnite, but we are going to use it for so much less. So first we go to unrealengine.com, we download the software. When you download, you'll be asked if you want to use a publisher's license or a creator's license. We're going to choose the creator's license because it allows us to use Unreal Engine for free as long as we make less than $1 million. So none of us will really have to worry about using or paying Epic Games any royalties. So once you've installed the launcher, you're going to download an engine version. I recommend that you use the most recent engine version and not any of the preview versions, because those are really more experimental and not really ready for prime time. Once you download the engine version, you can go ahead and start a new project. Then you want to choose game. You see that there's other categories that you can use. Keep the default settings, give it a name. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to take a look at the interface. Now the large window in the middle is the viewer window. You can use WASD to move the camera and the right mouse button to look around. So once you've got that practiced a little bit, then you can see on the left side is the Place Actors tab. Here's where you can just drag things into the engine. You drag them in, and they'll show up on the right side inside of the World Outliner. The World Outliner on the right is where you find everything that is currently in your level. Now below that is the context-sensitive details panel. Anytime you click on an item, its properties show up in the details panel, and that's where you can manipulate its size, its shape, and other aspects of the item by either adding things to it using the Components tab, or making it larger or smaller, or what have you. Now on the very bottom is the content folder. That is everything in the engine itself, so things that are hidden and things that are visible. But this is where you would bring in things from the outside. So let's say you had some music that you want to bring in, you'd bring that into the content folder. Let's say you have some other 3D art or animation that you want to bring in, you'd bring that into the content folder. And we're going to just take you through just a look at how I created my virtual theater. So as you can see here, this is quite a detailed look at choreographic pre-visualization. Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of TECH-NIQUE. In future episodes, we'll take a look at how we did all those things, from adding the video, adding the music, and animating the lights. For now, I'm Boris Willis, and this has been TECH-NIQUE.
Time now to turn our attention to the other world premiere for tonight's On Cue 2 season opening episode. And this is by Barcelona-based choreographer Thomas Noone, an old friend of many years whose work we've been touring around to different parts of the planet since 2013, when we first had the chance to work with him and his work Few. This is a work that either is or isn't, might or might not be, could or could not be, about a dinner party that did or didn't happen somewhere in the world last night. For a little bit more on what exactly that means, let's check in with our correspondent and colleague Tara Compton, who chatted with Thomas from Barcelona earlier in the week, where he is in the middle of a series of performances in Barcelona and throughout Spain and much of Europe. They're already back in theaters, while we here are not quite even close to that point. But here's Thomas, here's Tara, and their conversation about last night.
Instantly, I sort of went off into thought of how we could do this, how we could use video to actually put four people together. And so it came from an idea of creating four sort of characters, and this kind of like dialogue about a temporarily incorrect dinner. I mean, we're not sure whether we're there or it's the day after, if it's memories of the dinner or if people's different perceptions of the dinner. And it's just kind of it was kind of a nice way to play around with being able to put four people in the same place, where creating it in totally different places. So it was getting around the restrictions of that moment, or of this moment. And the idea of dinner stuck with me. So of course we all centered around a table, because that gave me also the reference space. You know, I was thinking, I'd have the plate and a cup and a knife and fork and everything, and didn't quite end up like that. But it was kind of having a prop that would somehow lead you through to help tie everything together. So we stayed with the plate and the glass. I think we smashed one. Someone smashed a glass in the rehearsal.
Did you approach the process any differently? Of course, knowing that it's digitally, but you're very meticulous, like with the notes and everything when you came in, which was so refreshing. Did you have a plan?
I always try and be as clear as I can, because the dancer is reinterpreting and creating this material, especially with the distance and Zoom. It is quite hard to work with movement like this, and it's people kind of bumping into their coffee tables and their walls. So yes, I did kind of try to prepare myself. One thing that was quite hard actually was seeing everyone in different places. To do that jump from seeing it in someone's sitting room on their little webcam to seeing it properly recorded, it was quite a change, quite a conceptual change.
Any insight onto what was written on the piece of paper?
No, I know what was written on my piece of paper, but that's a thing. I think it's like you can write in your mind's eye whatever you want on that piece of paper. And it was deliberately ambiguous. I mean, I love ambiguity. I mean, it's the time when you need to imagine stuff and to make stuff up in your own mind. And it's an invitation to kind of create a story between these four people, essentially only dancing.
I felt like you created work in our small spaces that still felt like we were dancing.
We still are dancing.
In a big space, though. It felt like it translated easily to the studio.
I think dance, although we're now in Zooms and digital things, and we still shouldn't forget what dance is. It has different possibilities, but still with the vision that eventually we'll get back on stage, because we must. I mean, theatre must return. People must return to speaking. We are social beings. And we must return to the theatre. We must return to live dance. So while we can find new things, we should never lose the essence of what is dance. Truly, otherwise, we're all a bit lost then.
Prepare to wrap up this first episode of Season 2 of On Cue, I'd like to ask you for the chance to share a few thoughts with you. When I first moved to Washington, many years ago, I came here for politics. Initially, to go to work in the Foreign Service, the State Department, and I found my way onto Capitol Hill as a legislative director for a member of the House of Representatives. I worked in the legislative work. I worked on state races, governor's races, presidential races, Senate races, House races, and had a chance to learn firsthand, up close, the astonishing, extraordinary power of a government when it seeks to do well by its people. When we began this program in late spring of 2020, we had hoped that by fall, if we came back to you with this program, we would be doing so to share with you live performances in some capacity or another. But I don't need to tell you that here in the United States, we're not at that moment in time. In fact, just a few days ago, the coronavirus report of incidents in the US was at its highest ever. Not modest, not mitigated, not lower, the highest. Whatever your politics, whatever your thoughts, the things on the ballot right now have profound, lasting, deep, personal consequences for all of us. The most important thing that we can do is vote. The time to sit on the sidelines is not now if it ever was. Social justice, racial justice, climate issues, economic issues, health issues, things that concern us, our friends, our family, our country, our planet, our loved ones, people that we've never even met, the whole of us. That's what's on the ballot now. That's what this election is about. So no matter what your thoughts are about where you'd like to vote and for whom you'd like to vote, it's not a moment not to vote. Early voting has begun in many states. Here in the District of Columbia, it starts on Monday, and I'll be the first person in line at my polling place to vote in person with a mask on. I simply say to you, as somebody who is making his living and his work as an artist, that this is a moment for all of us to stand up and to be counted. It's never been more important. It will never have greater impact than it does right now. That's our program for tonight. It's a pleasure, as always, to be with you. Thanks for the chance to share the art with you, share a few thoughts with you. We look forward to seeing you again in the future. Thanks very much. Stay safe. I hope your families are well. I hope your friends and loved ones are well. Good night.
Rapid firing questions now. Here we go. Favorite ice cream flavor?
Favorite ice cream flavor? Oh, rum and raisin.
Oh, nice. Favorite other choreographer to watch other than your own work?
Beginning or Hadna Harin.
3 words to describe your style as a dancer or choreographer?
I don't know. No, gestural, physical, dance.
Love that. Last book you read?
Oh, some terrible police novel thing.
Are you a morning person or a night person?
Oh, I'm just an all-day person.
That's fantastic. Favorite mode of transportation?
Bicycle.
Favorite cocktail?
Gin tonic.
Very Spain. If you could be any animal, what would you be?
My last cat.
Why do you dance?
I danced because I couldn't keep still. No, long story, but when I was in Jamaica, end of the summer, I went and did an open dance school. Someone said, "Do you like dancing? Go there." And I went to the National Dance School. And when I came back to England, I said, "Mum, I want to dance." And she went, "You must go and finish your studies." So I went to university, and then I wanted to dance because I just had to dance. It just strikes me as just a wonderful universal way of communicating, and it was like necessity. And I didn't even question it. Now I get to my age and I had no idea why I danced, but that I had to. It's a way that we stay in touch with our humanness and the way we think and the way we remain as a social and conscious and aware society. We see different perspectives of other people. If it's dance, if it's music, if it's art, we have to do this. There's an urge to create, an urge to find other realities, understand how people are thinking, share feelings, share ideas, question, curiosity, all these things that we so need in these times.